I am here today with my fellow yoga teacher, Vanessa Magnoni, and she is also a studying herbalist, and I just find what she does fascinating, so I wanted to ask her a little bit about what it is that she does and why it is that she does it. So maybe you can fill me in.
Absolutely. Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa. I am currently studying herbalism. I've been studying for about 2 years now. It's a very long process. Herbalism is basically the study of herbal medicine, so lots of different chemical reactions, therapeutic actions, what they do to your body, and the medicine is grown native to our land, or we can grow it by ourselves. And it's just a process of understanding what the medicine can do for you, and then fully experimenting with teas and tinctures and different salves and balms to fully I guess heal is not the word, but help you and aid you in your health issues. So
Well, I think there is, it does start the healing process, right?
Yeah,
And I know, like, I am so much more comfortable with the idea of putting something that actually comes from the ground, you know, instead of is built in a lab, you know, it just seems like it would be that much better. And I think we've been used to doing it for a long time, you know, but we just don't necessarily call it herbalism, right? And the different types of teas. So maybe you could give an example of what that looks like.
Yeah. So a perfect example would be chamomile or dandelion. Dandelion's actually a better example. We see it all the time. It's you know, people spray their lawns so dandelions don't come up, and that's just native to where we are, and it's got this beautiful bitter digestive property in it to help us with our digestive systems, whether it be really any digestive issue like nausea, diarrhea, anything like that. And it's just as simple as walking out to your front yard and cutting the top off or getting the root out of the ground. So something like that. And I think it's so funny that you have that perspective, because not a lot of people have the perspective of it's actually made in a lab, whereas this medicine is just grown naturally, and essentially the earth has just given it to us to be like, here, this is free, and it works. And you know, I think that modern medicine has it's made its way, obviously.
Yeah, there's definitely places where it can help that plants can't help. You know, like they've made great strides, but I think we turn to drugstore remedies, let's call it, for simple things like digestive issues when there is something that's much more natural there. So what do you recommend that people actually take those plants and use them themselves, or work with somebody like you who actually has a bit more knowledge?
I think that, you know, something like dandelion and chamomile, those are what we would call class A1 herbs, and those herbs are pretty much safe for everybody except for individuals who are pregnant. So working with a herbalist, you're going to get that idea of what herb's going to be safe with you, and also the contraindications that it has. So if it contraindicates any other medication that you're on, heart medication. So I think for peace of mind, even like me personally, working with my naturopath, even though I know the herbs well, just really comforts me to know, okay, this is, you know, not going to counteract with this and whatnot. So I definitely think that you could purchase chamomile tea at the store and have the medicinal benefits from it, but, you know, looking into maybe health issues like rheumatoid arthritis and something like that, you're going to want to work with someone who has the education so they can better assist you.
Yeah, I was just going to say the contraindication I think is a really important piece, because my mother has arthritis and there's medication that she takes that, you know, certainly there are different natural substances. Turmeric was one that she can't take, which I never would have considered. I take it, you know, when I'm feeling a lot of inflammation and whatnot, and I recommended it to her. She asked smartly the pharmacist, and he said, like, no, you can't take that with your medication. So that's a really important piece if you are going to explore working with different herbs, to always just check with the person or with your medical professional that will recommend it. Can you maybe give us some examples of specific herbs and how they help?
Yeah, so ones that I found in my backyard are the easiest ones. So I've had yarrow, which is a really good first aid herb. So yarrow used to be made into salves to stop wounds from bleeding and actually heal from like the third layer of your skin out, so pushing out any infection. That's just something that I've literally found in my backyard, and I didn't even know of the herb before. Motherwort is another one I found in the backyard. It's a uterine tonic, so used safely for women who are pregnant in their 3rd trimester to strengthen the uterus, and then also during our menstrual cycles. So those mullein is this beautiful fuzzy little plant, and it's really good for the lungs. It's actually going through a study right now for individuals who are recovering from COVID.
I was just gonna say, that just sounds like you piqued my interest on that one, because I was like, that just seems like it would be a really important herb for the world right now to be paying attention to. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's like very fuzzy, so it actually replaces the hair-like fibers that we have that line our esophagus and our lungs.
Okay.
And it will essentially replace them. And besides COVID, it also, those hair-like fibers diminish through like just smoking and having
environmental pollution.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, everybody could use.
No kidding, right?
Yeah.
And how would you use an herb like that? Because I've never heard that like in a tea or something. Is that what you would use? Is it for tea, or would you make like a?
Yeah. So I would probably make a tincture out of mullein, because the fuzzy hair-like fibers would probably irritate the throat.
Yeah.
I actually have never tried it as a tea. I have a friend who does a smoke blend with it. So there's that option as well, but typically if you're going to use something for your lungs, you wouldn't want to smoke it. You want to heal your lungs, so a tincture would be perfect. And just to elaborate on that, a tincture is basically the plant medicine. So that just the herbs, like the leaves of mullein, sit in a jar in vodka or an alcohol of your choice that's over 80 proof, which means 40%. And then it sits for like 8 to 10 weeks, extracts all the beautiful medicine from the herb, and then it's just strained through a cheesecloth and put in a dropper, and you just take it under the tongue.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of it burns because it's alcohol, but it's not. It's not like taking a shot. It has.
You don't get any like. Side alcohol side.
No.
You're not gonna get hammered from taking your drops in the morning.
You'd have to like drink the bottle to actually get
all right. See that again? That's not something I've never really used much. Yeah. So that brings us to like if there's options are making a tea or using a tincture or a smoke blend. What is that? I've never even heard of that.
So it's basically just ground up herb, or like cut up herb. Like the mullein you wouldn't grind up because it's so fuzzy, it would irritate the throat. Just like cut into small pieces, and then this friend that I'm referring to, she just uses like tobacco paper and just rolls it up and smokes it. So I've actually never personally tried one myself, but a lot of people like it, and there's also a lot of people that use it for ceremonies and for different traditions. So I guess it depends on what you need out of the herb too, because herbs also have energetic properties and have those healing qualities as well, I guess. So then balms as well, and salves, which is just topical. You use beeswax or soy wax, anything really, and just use it topically to enter into the dermis, which arthritis, you would use something like that, right? So it actually penetrates. I mean, there's so many other options. There's like infusions, which is just basically a big tea that sits overnight on the windowsill. Teas, different distillations, like lots of options.
So if we were to talk about two specific conditions, being the popular ones. Anxiety, I think, is something that a lot of people have struggled with over the last year. What specifically herbs would come to mind for you, and how to use them for anxiety?
Yeah, passion flower is a beautiful one. She helps with nervous insomnia and restlessness as well as anxiety. So those are almost secondary symptoms to anxiety, and that a lot of people experience. So she's great. And then skullcap is beautiful as well. And these are all like herbs that you can either find in tinctures, purchase from a herbalist, or just buy the actual dry herb yourself and then prepare it the way you want. Chamomile is really beautiful for anxiety. There's so many different ones, but I guess the benefit of working with a herbalist too is being able to pinpoint exactly the root of what your anxiety is coming from.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
if your anxiety is causing you digestive issues, then something like chamomile is going to be really good for you because it's going to help you in both those ways.
Mm-hmm.
If your anxiety is maybe due to some trauma, or you know, you're very restlessness, and that's gonna, a skull cap is gonna hug you that way, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's so many different therapeutic actions that they have, and a herb doesn't have one single action. So
Mm-hmm.
being able to pinpoint, you know, and find out what exactly you need is
It's an important piece to it, yeah.
Yeah.
And the quantities, I would imagine, too, the concentrations of the
Yes.
herbs, right? So
Yeah.
if we move in the more opposite direction, I guess, and deal with people that are feeling depression or lethargy or whatever, just feeling really down and unmotivated and hard to get, you know, hard to get moving, what would you recommend for that?
So a lot of the people that I've worked with that struggle with just like low energy, fatigue, and then that depression kicking in as well, the first thing that I look at is their adrenal glands. Their adrenal glands are these little organs that sit on top of your kidneys, and they produce most of the hormones, but the stress hormone as well. And when you're stressed, they're just overcompensated and just run down. So that's one that I look at the most, and an adaptogen is going to help really well to an adaptogenic herb is going to help really well for the adrenal glands. So things like ashwagandha, lion's mane mushroom, lots of those to just kind of kickstart those adrenal glands to, you know, give you that serotonin back and help you just function on a daily basis. But again, when it's so specific, right? The depression, like where is it coming from, right? And seasonal affective depression as well, that's a thing. So that's really low energy, and yeah, there's so many different herbs.
Yeah.
There's so many different options.
So the best thing to do, and I would be skeptical to tell someone to, you know, I mean, some things like you said, chamomile, we're used to, I can buy a chamomile tea at the grocery store, right? That's not a big deal. But to move into some of the other ones, really recommend getting some professional advice, and Vanessa is your professional, so I would love to just kind of let people know how to contact you and ask questions and maybe even make an appointment to talk about their issues. So can you provide us with that information?
So I do consultations, and the consultations right now are virtual, obviously, because we are in the situation we're in. So you can go to my Instagram, and we'll have it linked or provided to you guys. And then there is a link in the bio. You guys can just click on there and send me an email, and we can talk about it. It is pretty lengthy. It's about an hour and a half. Like I was saying, there's a lot to know and a lot of different herbs. So I want to look at like medication and everything like that. So we can definitely, you know, have a consultation, and then I do like to do like a couple follow-ups after, just so I make sure that this herb is working well for you and it's fitting your needs correctly. So you can contact me that way on my website. I also have some yoga offerings on there as well, and I also have a apothecary, which is all herbal medicine products that I sell that are mostly safe and no contraindications, so you can take without booking a consultation with me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I hope that you start just thinking in a little bit of a different direction as to ways that you can supplement your health, so that you can just have the best life possible, you know, physically, mentally, and those things combined together. So, you know, it's never just one thing, is it? You know, we look at a symptom in the body, in the physical body, and so often we can trace it back to, you know, how we're processing things emotionally and mentally, and vice versa. You know, we're going through some mental things, and it starts to have physical effects. So it just is a good idea to bring as many different modalities in as possible before going to you know, some of the more prescribed things that are out there. There's other options, and I'm not saying the prescription is not an option. It's a completely viable option. But there's other ways to look at it preventatively even, and then as, you know, symptoms are mild before they start to get really extreme, and then definitely, you know, some medical intervention is required. So thank you for being here today, Vanessa, and I just hope you have a great day.
Bye guys.